Welcome to the Fairview Church Podcast, where faith meets everyday life and our mission comes alive, reaching our neighbors with the true freedom found in full surrender to Christ. Join us as we explore God's Word, celebrate His work in our community, and grow together in faith and freedom.
Hey, welcome back to the Fairview Church Podcast. I am here with two distinguished guests of mine. I use the word guest on purpose because of what we're about to talk about, but let me not get ahead of the topic. I actually want to make sure that the introduction is proper because some people may be watching videos, some people may be just listening to audio, so they need to know who they're hearing, and some of the voices may be familiar. So who are you? Real quick, Pastor Devin, who are you?
Hi, I'm Pastor Devin Black. I'm pastor of worship and administration here at Fairview Church. Excited to be here to talk about what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, that sounded like a podcast voice. And Lydia.
I'm Lydia McMillan, Director of Ministries.
Director of Ministries.
Yes.
Thank you. Which is a new title for you as of 2026. That is the year that we're in, right?
The year of our Lord.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so since January, you've been Director of Ministries, but probably another conversation, unpack at a later point in time. But that puts you in the midst of a lot of things around here. Most specifically, at least one of the areas that you, Lydia, have seen in different church settings, but also experienced here quite a bit at Fairview Church. And then myself and Pastor Devin have also seen in other church settings and here at Fairview Church is First Impressions. What other titles, Lydia, have you come across that hits this category or this topic?
Like welcome team or greeters, ushers, guest services.
Hospitality team.
Oh,
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I've kind of seen a little bit of everything, and I think we probably are all going to bring different experiences of how local churches have done this in the past, maybe to some degree have not done this in the past.
Yes.
And we have kind of list of pros and cons. But Lydia, because of your experience in things here at Fairview Church, you've kind of got a list of questions to guide us through that will help us in that conversation with things. So I think we just jump in.
Absolutely.
Like where do we start with this?
All right, so first, why do first impressions matter in the life of the church?
You want to arm wrestle?
Why?
We still haven't answered the question, who would win?
Who would win one
Lots
day?
of assumptions out there. Why do first impressions matter?
Well, I've got one answer.
Please.
So, I mean, I love the thought process of the local church being, in many ways, the most visible representation of the gospel.
Absolutely.
And so, when we're talking about then anyone coming to any event that the local church does, but we're probably more so thinking about our Sunday morning gathering,
Sure.
that anytime someone comes in, whether they be regular in their attendance, be a longtime member, or it is their very first time that they've ever walked on the campus at Fairview Church, they are seeing, again, no matter who it is, they are seeing the visible representation of the gospel, a born-again people by way of, and only by way of, Jesus and Jesus alone. So first impressions then becomes, in many ways, truly the first impression, I think that's why I like the term, the first impression of the gospel. That they are walking into a scene and scenario that there's a redeemed people here, and what they're about to see may not necessarily be routine or normal for them, but what they're about to see is a gospel people doing a gospel thing, which is a redeemed people worshiping the one who has redeemed them.
Yeah. I think it's important to tie back kind of what you said as we introed things. We've all seen it done in different ways. We've seen it done well and done poorly. And so what you're seeing, again, is this introduction to a representation of the gospel, and that representation may be a very bad representation, and that's what we want to mitigate against and being intentional with how we engage with people the first time they come into the campus or into the building, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen in local churches the attempt to have a first impressions meet and greet of some kind. But I've also seen in local churches there be no emphasis whatsoever, and people assume that this happens organically.
Yeah.
And as much as it probably should, the reality is it doesn't always happen organically, but that is part of the desire that we would have.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think for me, in my just own church journey, whether it be on staff, but I'm even thinking about before I was a staff member. I assumed many times that people were walking in with a church experience, knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
Man, that has changed in just the recent years.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why First Impressions has even more validity today.
Well, certainly, and I think just the way we are, a lot of times we will remember a bad first impression much more than we will, especially if it's an expectation that's just met. We just cruise on through, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I remember I was, long before ministries, I was still living at home with my folks and everything. We visited a church, and the first impression, first interaction we had with anybody in that building was the pastor's wife, who was informing us that we were sitting in her pew. Oh. And so I remember that forever. We didn't go back to that church ever again. But talk about a maybe not great reflection or representation of the gospel in that particular setting.
Not a reflection of the gospel, but probably a very true reflection of that local church.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe they've grown. It's been a long time, but anyway.
You hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Lord willing.
So how does missional living connect to the way we gather on Sundays? We call it a worship gathering. We've got a First Impressions team. What is that connection?
Well, you had mentioned that the gathering is a redeemed people, and there's
By and large,
yes. By and large, it is a redeemed people, and so that is the outflow of the mission taking place. You have a gathering of people who have been redeemed, and then are hopefully reflecting the gospel in an accurate way, and bringing other people into that. Yeah. So again, try not to cause any hindrance for the mission moving forward in the lives of individuals who are coming. It's certainly part of it.
Yeah, for me, one of those core values that we have, missional living. We're going to represent the gospel every day, everywhere, kind of thought process. For me, what we're saying is first impressions on a Sunday morning. It should be how we're living every other day with every other scenario. Yeah. We should not have to be a people who is forced to welcome guests on Sunday mornings. Like that's an oxymoron of thought process. We should genuinely, as redeemed believers, and what we mean by that is we are people who have experienced grace and mercy. And by way of our own experience of grace and mercy, we should in turn be giving grace and mercy out to people who are coming in our doors, whether they have a church experience. And if they do, oftentimes if they're walking through our doors, it's probably because they have had a negative church experience. Yes. If it's positive, that's maybe only because they relocated here.
Yeah.
But they're walking in potentially with the church experience, and so we want to make sure we meet those expectations, Pastor Devin, as you said, or not meet certain expectations that they have, or they have no church experience, no religious experience whatsoever, and we want to make sure that they know when they walk in, hey, not everything is going to be geared necessarily for you, but you certainly need to feel welcome that you can be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Danny Frank says, the gospel is offensive, nothing else should be in that experience, which I think is so true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, I've heard somebody illustrate it this way before. If I invite someone to my house for dinner for the first time ever, and they're going to sit down, because if you're coming over to my house for dinner, we're not changing everything for you. Like, we have our routine.
Yeah.
I've got 3 kids who are set in their ways. We'd like to think about our creatures of habit when we get older. No, listen, my 2 teenage boys and my almost teenage girl, they know routines.
Yeah.
Yes.
They know rhythms already. So we have a way we do dinner. All right, if you're coming in, we're going to probably behind the scenes be like, okay, we can't act up nearly as much as we normally can. But you're coming in to engage with what we normally do.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's okay. We're not changing that for you. But there may be things that my family does that you're not used to. And that's cool too. Vice versa, it would happen the same way.
Yeah.
What we want to do, though, is if you come in the first time, you're going to at least sense a welcomeness.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, we want you to be here. You may not know why we're doing everything we're doing, but you for sure know you're welcome here. The 5th time you come, you're going to have a better understanding. Yeah. That's why they do that. It's because he can't clean up his mess after his dinner. It's because that one person doesn't like to cook, but that other person does like to cook. The dynamic, you start learning these things, and then there's a comfortability to it. But the first impression must be good to even allow for a second opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I think that's key.
Well, and I think I want to work ahead on what we're going to be talking about, but we have in a church kind of this size, we do have to sometimes systematize or bring structure to something that does need to be happening regardless if there's a structure there or not. Hence, hospitality first impressions. Like, we have a team that's responsible for those things, that have assignments and training and those sorts of things. But every individual, every church member needs to have that responsibility as well. Okay. We're not offloading all of our responsibilities just being a good, godly Christian church member. And that extends to every aspect as far as evangelism and the worship. Yeah, we've got a trained worship team, but by golly, you better be engaging with the prayer time and the sermon and the singing and all those things. So trying to, again, give guide rails and programs and those sorts of things, but not outsourcing from the pew our responsibility we all should have and possess. And really think about this. An attitude of welcoming of this first impression mentality. If we have the thought that church is the place I go, it's my morally superior club that I attend on Sunday mornings. Yeah, you might not engage in first impressions very well, but when you think of it as this is my family, my faith family that I'm gathering with to worship, I want people to feel welcome here. Yeah. And I want to be intentional. Yeah,
if you have a consumeristic mentality, you don't care what other people's experience is, if you will. Yeah. If you have a family mentality, you care about what people think when they walk in the doors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Lydia, I don't want to get ahead, but I'm sure I am getting ahead. But I want us to talk about the practical. If I'm the everyday church member, how do I know?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the practicality of it's important because talk about the family, the rhythms, the routines. We're set as a family. The church member at Fairview knows which doors are used and which doors are not used, where the flow of traffic is, where the flow of traffic is not. Mm-hmm. Like, we know how things work. But the person coming in, and it's their first time here, man, they're looking at our facility differently than the regular person is. Yeah. They're watching what the norm is and trying to figure out. Like, there's a lot of confusion when you first walk in the door.
Absolutely.
And if 95% of the people look like they know what's going on, and I'm part of the 5% that doesn't know what's going on, there's a lot of boldness and courageous for me to show up the first time, much less even think about coming back a second time. I want to make sure that I know I'm welcome to be back at this place.
Absolutely.
So just practically, if I'm an everyday church member, what should I be looking for that the first impressions team is doing, but then those guests, are they receiving something, or are they getting something that kind of aids the everyday church member?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're coming right off the street. We have guest parking. And you may have seen we redone our parking lot, so there is guest parking right there in the front. There's 2 flags, can't miss it. And that is a great way for us to have a spot available for someone. We are not calling them visitors because a visitor comes into your house and they're going to leave. We are receiving them as guests because we want them to stay. And so we can also see that from the lobby area when they first walk in. And so we are ready at that first time guest table, or the new here table that we call it, with a gift for them. And so everyone that is their first time, they get a gift. So that's your tell that if you see someone with a gift and they're walking around with a white bag with a Fairview logo, that this is their first time, please welcome them, engage with them, talk to them, because they do have those jitters a lot of times. They're like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go or where the bathrooms are, that kind of thing.
That's right.
We offer them coffee.
And a white bag stands out.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yes, we offer them coffee. A lot of times they don't know the coffee is free. We have open seating, no assigned seats. And so just helping them feel welcome and know we want them here. And then if they come for a group, to help them know what groups are, maybe for their age or stage of life. Where's kids ministry? Where is student ministry?
Yep.
They don't know where to go or what to do. So really just helping them feel welcome and getting them to the next place. Or if they come for a worship gathering, hey, this is what you might expect. If you got any questions, come back out and see us. And then after the gathering, we always try to help make connection. We want those 3 intentional relational connections with folks.
Yeah.
So they meet someone at the table. Hopefully they engage with someone during the gathering, and then coming to meet you or Devin as a way of, hey, the next step after this, we'd love you to come to a welcome party. So again, making those really simple places that they can navigate around as they come in on a Sunday morning, just make them feel welcome.
I know several times, I don't know after you've preached and been out there if this has happened, but some of our folks, whether they be First Impressions team who have connected originally or somebody just sitting around, pre-worship gathering conversation, they see the white bag, they connect with somebody, they're walking them up to me saying, hey, this is such and such, this is their first time here, we want to make sure that we've introduced them to you. That's happened on a regular basis. And when I see the white bag coming, all right, I know who they are.
Absolutely.
Their first time, and it's great. I love those interactions, and have a chance to see or just to hear a little bit of their story. I try to ask, what their story is.
Yeah, no one's ever done that for me. So, but that's okay.
Well, it just could be it could be that you need to preach more.
I guess so.
That's what it is.
That
we
what
just
it is?
have
I think that's
more
what it is.
repetitions, more opportunities in the foyer, those kind of things.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And then our follow-up is really intentional as well, as we will give them a call and we'll text them and then we'll email them and help them find ways to either join a group or come to a welcome party or answer some of the questions that they will have offline in between those dates. So just really making it easy for them as they discover if Fairview is where they want to call their church home.
And I think what you're talking about is important. We have not just kind of those first steps with first impressions, but we do have a process of next steps. Absolutely. That we do have a process to not just communicate with our folks and follow up, but we are taking them somewhere, or we want to take them somewhere, and that's helpful. If just everybody knows there's something going on, the everyday church member doesn't have to carry the burden of all the first steps, next steps. We're just asking the folks, hey, have a mentality about you that's one, theologically driven. Yes. We've received grace. We want to be gracious and merciful with folks. But then number 2 is we know the best place for them to be is right here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
At this church, hearing the gospel either through the messages of the sermons or through the musical worship of singing, prayer, whatever be in that gathering, but also in all the other things that we do as a local church. Yeah. So having that mentality of, I'm not here just to be served, but to also serve others.
Yeah. And I think it's important. A lot of times we're like, oh, they already know Jesus. They've been to another church and they're moving into the area and they're just trying to find a church. No, we're finding a lot more folks that are moving into the area that have never encountered the gospel before. So this is even a new experience, just the idea of church.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a good word. In years past, and just in my own ministry experiences, in years past, I've seen a shift from when I first started ministry. A lot of people who would walk through the doors are disgruntled church members of other churches, and you had a lot of sheep shearing.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Now, for various factors, you're seeing a lot of people that are coming to the church, and they are what folks have been calling them the nuns. They have no religious affiliation, no church experience, and they're walking in for random reasons. Something's happened in life. They're looking for answers. Friendship or relationship, that's huge. You invite somebody, that's usually how somebody's coming to Fairview Church. Or they've moved into town. They're looking, and they're starting a search process for a local church. So, and then we don't know what that came from. So you're really unpacking a lot of very intimate but needed details in just a first impressions moment.
Yeah. Absolutely. So how can we shift from a team that welcomes to a church that welcomes?
It's good. It's good. But to be clear, both are good.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we're always
Yeah,
going to have
sure.
a team that
Team's gonna be
They're
there.
holding the doors. They're giving out the calendar.
Absolutely, we're getting people involved. That's a great way to serve, not just on a Sunday to Sunday basis. That's a good thing. But yes, this is one of those things. You mentioned worship ministry, serve team earlier. You may have people who are playing an instrument or singing that are on the stage, but that doesn't mean that I am not supposed to worship in my seat
Right.
when we're doing all those things. So we're collaborating together. This is not just a team at play. This is a team as a family. We've used that term a lot at play. So both are good.
Yeah.
So what comes to mind, Pastor Devin, for you?
Ask the question again.
Okay. How do we move from
talked a lot.
team that welcomes to a church that welcomes?
Yes, I think it's multifaceted because I think similar to kind of the direction you were headed, the team of welcoming is one facet of many things we should be doing collectively. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the worship aspect, which I completely agree with as well. But I kind of want to speak back towards, you had mentioned the consumeristic mindset that a lot of us have in church settings, which has really been a detriment. And we're seeing more and more of the outflow of that, and where we have professionalized what is general ministry we are all responsible for. And that includes things like discipleship, evangelism. The thought is get them in the walls of the church, and then the preacher is going to tell them the gospel. And it's like, no, that's all of our responsibility. We share the commission. Yeah. And so this is one piece of that where we become just a welcoming first impressions people so that we can disciple well, so that we can share the gospel effectively one-to-one, not just from the platform or the pulpit. And so I think it's a multifaceted thing.
I mean, I can just speak for myself. I'm an introvert, and it is painful for me to go up to someone and be like, hi, is this your first time? And then they go, I've been here for 20 years, like that.
So here's a little peek behind the curtain.
Yes.
3 people here, all full-time church staff, pastor, preacher, pastor, worship leader, been over first impressions. We are all 3 introverts.
Okay, let's not get too much into confession here. But yes, you're correct, and as I've told these guys before, I'm an introvert who has learned to play the extrovert in these gatherings. There's an element of if I'm, because I know who I am relationally, personally, if I just stay in my little box of comfort, I know that that's not who I need to be on a Sunday morning, or just when the church is gathered. This is my family. Yeah. So I do have a little bit more comfort to open up than in comparison to walking around the grocery store, hoping that nobody looks at you kind of thing, or don't look at my buggy and start talking to me. We call it in public, my kids will say, well, Dad has his face on today, and it's the face that, everybody just can start talking to me. But you learn to play the extrovert because you never know what that word or that touch or that relational opportunity will bring for the first impression or the second impression to a family or an individual. Yeah. And so that's important.
Yeah. Well, I think instead of asking, how long you been? Ask them how long they've been there. Don't ask, is this your first time? Sure. But also recognize there may be people you've not engaged with ever, and they have been here for 20 years. What a beautiful opportunity to get to know someone. There are a lot of folks, and you may have not seen them around because of when they're serving, where they're located, where their kids are, where their parents are, whatever that is. And so I think it's really important for us to engage with each other, even if you've never seen each other. It might be your first time. Yeah. But what a beautiful picture of the body of Christ, and that we all get to do this together.
Yes. Yeah. And leaning from that team that may be very purposefully serving on a Sunday for that first impression to an entire church is crucial, I think, for a couple reasons here. One, and again, it comes back to the consumerism mentality. We're all recovering from something in the local church, some sort of paradigm, some sort of style, some sort of structure. We're all recovering from something because we came through the church growth movement. We came through the attractionalism church model.
Yeah.
We came through the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, everything that was going on. And we've been through enough to know, oh my goodness, there were some drifts there that we need to be careful of. Mm-hmm. And because we're all recovering from something, that means we all need each other in our journey of recovering to biblical, gospel, local church realities. And so I think there's that element that just is theologically out there, but just practically, you go anywhere else where a community is emphasized, and you are willing to go back to somewhere, even if you don't agree.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's massive. You're willing relationally to go back somewhere that you don't either enjoy being or you struggle being at, but the relationship welcoming is so strong.
Yeah.
You're willing to go figure out what's going on there because something relationally is healthy.
Yes.
And we almost connect internally when there's healthy relationships. There must also be something else that's good there, because people in today's world, you don't have healthy community and healthy relationships just randomly.
Right.
Like there's a connecting factor. And what we're trying to say is at Fairview, Jesus is the connecting factor.
Yeah.
So our relational health should automatically make us a welcoming people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. How can we encourage our church to see every interaction as an opportunity for gospel witness?
Well, again, if you're interacting with people that you don't know, you don't know the status of that individual. Really, how much do we know the status of anyone anyway? But especially someone who's new and off the street. And so, really, just taking a responsibility as an ambassador for Jesus. And part of that comes to a previous conversation we had, Pastor Tyler, about preparation for coming to the gathering on a Sunday or even on a Wednesday night, anytime we're around here gathered as the body. Just being prepared to receive, engage, and to foster gospel conversations. It takes intentionality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good word. I like that intentionality.
It happens sometimes.
That's good. Well, throw that in the sermon every once in a while. Somebody will come up to the foyer afterwards and have a little meet and greet.
You got something worth sharing. They might actually respond to you. It's good.
There you go. There you go.
Wow.
All right. One step every person listening can take this Sunday to help create a culture of welcome.
That bit of discomfort when you're thinking, ought I go say something to this person? Just lean into it and do it.
Do it.
Yeah. We never grow when we stay comfortable, and that's in every aspect of life, not just being hospitable.
Yeah. That's good.
And if you've got some discomfort just now when I said that, I'm talking to you then. So yeah.
The
So,
introverts
yes,
in the
you.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah. In ministry world, and this is how I was raised up and taught, was when there was a church function, literally the terminology was work the tables. Work the table. And I knew exactly what that meant.
Yeah.
I watched it. I saw it. I do it.
Yeah.
To this day, you think about a church, I think about Thanksgiving dinner. There's an element in me to walk around from table to table and work the tables.
Yeah.
And I actually try to fight against it a little bit. Like there's a healthy aspect to it, but there's a non-healthy aspect to it. So much so that my Sunday morning routine, it doesn't always happen, but what I try to do is when I come in to the worship center on Sunday mornings, I try to walk down a different aisle every single Sunday. Now, I'm headed to the same spot. I'm not worried about anybody taking my seat up front. But I'm headed to the same spot, not worried about having to save my seat. And I try to walk down a different aisle because you just see and meet different people every single Sunday. Some it's successful, some not, because y'all know this. Some people will talk your ear off, and some people will say, hey, and let you go on, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think there's some of that discomfort is we're so used to our rhythms of routines. We go to the restroom, we're coming out of a group, we're doing our thing, we're talking to our friends, our family, and we go straight to our seat. We sit down until the gathering begins.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, wait a minute. What if we didn't do that every single Sunday?
Yeah.
Yes.
what if you can have your same seat if you would like, but what if you walked to the other side of the worship center, spoke to someone just for the sake of speaking to someone, and then went back?
Yeah.
Just try different things.
Yeah. I mean, my gentle step would be just be kind, and if you see a need, go and be that helpful person, you know? Like, there are so many things that are happening on a Sunday morning, and someone drops something, or someone needs help with the kiddos, or whatever it is. And so to jump in and be available for whatever the Lord has for in that moment is just, again, what we're kind of speaking to. But if you do feel a sense of, I need to be on the First Impressions team, we would love to have you, so come find me, I'll find you, and we'll make that happen where you can actually serve on that team, because we do love that we get to be a part of that every single Sunday.
Well, and two, let me speak to that, the invitation to be a part of the First Impressions team. No matter the personality that you carry, First Impressions is actually way more fun than I thought it would be.
Yes.
Because when people are walking in, even regular members, been here, they're coming every single Sunday.
Yes.
When people are walking in, most of the time, people are walking in wanting to be here.
Yes.
So it's easy to greet people who are walking in the doors wanting to be here.
Absolutely.
All right, that's fun.
Absolutely.
That's fun.
Yeah.
The person who walks in for the first time, they're nervous. Listen, if you can bring them a welcoming face and a welcoming word, they almost melt at your fingers. They're like, "Oh, you're willing to help us? Please help us. Where do we go? We don't want to look weird this morning." So it's really fun. And you walk them in, you connect them to a few other people. If you're an introvert, you find an extrovert, and they'll talk their ear off for a few more minutes. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And it really is, it's encouraging, because if you don't do that sometimes, I think sometimes the regular church member misses how many guests we actually have from Sunday to Sunday. Because, guys, we're having regular guests from Sunday to Sunday. And if you don't see that or know that, you may be missing out on a blessing.
Absolutely.
At Fairview Church.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for this conversation. We really had a great time. Thanks for listening and being a part of the podcast today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. First impressions, second impressions, third impressions, here we come.
Last impressions.
Yeah. Last impressions until Jesus returns.
Absolutely.
We do first impressions until Jesus returns.
If not, see you Sunday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Lydia, thank you. Pastor Devin, thank you. And to all of our introverts and extroverts out there, thank you, guys. We'll see you on Sundays.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Fairview Church Podcast. To find out more about our church, please visit us online at myfairview.org.